And welcome back to Newsmax Prime. As we mentioned earlier in the program, yesterday, J.D. Hayworth had the opportunity to sit down with Congressman Darrell Issa of California. Issa serves on the House Judiciary Committee that recently held a hearing on Loretta Lynch and her decision to follow the FBI's recommendation to not charge Hillary Clinton for misusing her email server. Now, J.D. started by asking if Issa and other members were prepared to hold Lynch in contempt of Congress.
Well, I think that we're getting awfully close to the end. As you know, in just a day we're going to leave, and there's only about 8 days left before the election. So I suspect that it's not going to happen. But, you know, she was asked a question about would she like to be in the Hillary Clinton administration, yes or no, and she played very coy with that. So the chances of her being confirmed by even a 50-50 Senate have just fell to zero in my estimation. So we may not be able to remove her or to hold her in contempt, but we certainly, I suspect, will be able to keep her from being reconfirmed in a new administration after the kind of dubious performance she made in not telling. Some people call it obfuscating. You know the other terms for when you don't tell the truth.
Oh, yeah, we know those terms. Darrell, we appreciate that from you. We get the truth and nothing but. And, of course, another story broke yesterday. FBI agents who worked on the investigation of Hillary Clinton's use of that private email server reportedly had to sign a non-disclosure form banning them from talking about the case unless they were called to testify. Sources say they've never heard of such a form being utilized in government service. What's your reaction to that?
The Clintons don't play by the same rules. They make up their rules. And there's no question these were rules they made up, the idea that you wouldn't do it. But, you know, for this administration, this isn't new. And I'll give you a similar one. In Benghazi, when we first started the investigation, the first documents ever produced, you expect them to be delivered. Usually you get either electronic or paper copies. Instead, a gentleman from the State Department rolled in with a cart and rolled out with it every day and sat in a room and said, you can look at them, but you can't make copies of them. And we said, well, what level are they classified at? And we started looking through. The vast majority of them weren't even classified. This administration flaunts all the normal standards of discovery and transparency, but they've been doing it mostly with impunity. Remember that we've only been able to have 2 contempts. One was when I got to move the contempt of Lois Lerner. One was Eric Holder. That's it. This last few years, it's been very, very hard to get House leadership. We've had multiple House leaders to actually stand up and say, you know what, there's a standard. When you don't need it, there should be a contempt every week if necessary to make it clear that in the past, this would not have been tolerated. They wouldn't have tolerated it under Reagan or Bush or even the first Clinton.
And you are touching on the level of frustration that I detect from our callers every night here on Newsmax Prime and that I have as a former member. When you say House leadership, are you telling us that Speaker Ryan is reluctant to stand up and fight against the obvious wrongdoing in this administration?
Well, I see a new day with Speaker Ryan. I see a less bravado, but more action. If you look at my former subcommittee chairman, Jason Chaffetz, who now heads the full committee, there was a period of, I would call, inaction the first year and a half. The Speaker left, Paul Ryan took over, and almost immediately we started seeing some investigations pick up again. So there's a sign that under this Speaker that there would be better. But I'll tell you, your old friend and mine, Lamar Smith, he's been doing great work holding the EPA accountable, subpoenaed, threatened contempt, got the documents, does depositions. So there is some good work going on. But as you know, there's a lot of people who look to the next election as an opportunity to continue working. And there's a few that are real fighters. Trey Gowdy, obviously being one that we all know, has been doing a superb job and produced a document that has to be read.
Which is exactly why I called Lamar Smith and said, man, you ought to be the Speaker, because he brings that fighting attitude and doesn't have to be coaxed. Listen, there was was another investigation on the Senate side. I just want a quick comment on it. We're hearing that $350 million of taxpayer money went into a fund that helped opposition groups try to oust Netanyahu in Israel. Do you expect any fallout from that?
Well, I certainly see further fallout in our relationship with one of our closest allies, and an ally that we, quite frankly, share secrets with at a high level, even develop technology, including Iron Dome and other anti-missile technology. And this is the last thing we want to do. This administration has really diminished our relationship with Israel at the presidential level. Fortunately, at the House and Senate level, it remains strong. But the question you have is a good one. Can we hold them accountable for this misuse of funds? And I would say that the clock is ticking out, and this administration will be gone laughing at us as they flaunted the normal decorum when it came to how you treat your allies around the world and how you stay out of their elections. But this president didn't do it in Britain. In other words, didn't stay out of it, and he certainly didn't stay out of his disdain for Bibi Netanyahu.
Exercising my right to revise my question to you, I should have said $350,000 rather than $350 million, but still taxpayer money. Current events have taken away a bit from your chance to discuss your book, Watchdog. So just tell us, the minute 30 that remains, what do you hope readers come to understand when they pick up a copy of Watchdog?
Well, you know, when people pick up Watchdog or download it on Audible or put it on their Kindle, what they do is they get refreshed as to certain major scandals of our time: Fast and Furious, Benghazi, the IRS, even the Countrywide scandal. But what they also get is they get the opportunity to see the path forward, the hope that would turn into a plan that would turn into repairing our government, making it transparent, making it work. The fact is that the next president's going to have to audit a government filled with waste, and he's going to need Congress to be at his side. We need to make sure that those institutions are working. And the book lays out using these failures to show you how you can succeed. And as you know, not everything is a failure. Sometimes you get agencies to turn on a dime and stop wasting your money or abusing people. We need to make sure that they turn on a dime every time they're wasting money or denying people their rights and privileges.
Spoken like the true successful businessman you were before heading into the Congress, and now an author. The name of the book again, Watchdog, the real stories behind the headlines from the congressman who exposed Washington's biggest scandals. Darrell Issa, we thank you for your time tonight on Newsmax Prime.
Thanks, JD.